All right. Welcome to Ask Me Anything episode. I feel like anybody who likes Star Wars will like this drink that I'm making. That's good. This podcast is for anyone who is in the process of becoming. I hope that whoever's meant to hear what I have to say is listening. But as always, all that comes to the front. Book recommendations. What do you read that makes your heart happy? I actually got more into fantasy and nonfiction this year, but I do love the book Pussy, A Reclamation by Regina Thomas Shower, Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, Mind the Gap, Dr. I forget her name right now, The Four Agreements. I like all those books. I definitely suggest Artist's Way and Pussy, A Reclamation, especially for women. Artist's Way is like connecting spirituality and creativity and like reconnecting with like your desires. So that's a good one. Ooh, next question is a really good one. How to be a good listener and ask for things myself. So I used to listen in order to speak instead of like listening or being fully present. Being present is key for me. Not only does it help with anxiety, but nothing feels shittier than when you're trying to like open up to someone and you see them kind of like half focusing on you. Just focus on who's speaking. Focus on them. They're sharing something with you. They're probably being vulnerable. But I came up with like 5 things to keep in mind when you're trying to be a good listener, like 5 tips, main tips, okay? 1, practice empathy. Even if you don't fully understand like their predicament or whatever they're trying to tell you, it matters to them. That's why they're sharing it with you. So try to put yourself in their shoes and understand their feelings, even if you don't agree. Just try to be warm toward them. Another tip is do not interrupt. Do not interrupt. Like, ask how you can be there for them. This was huge for me. This was a game changer for me. Like, do you need me to listen? Do you need me to be a soundboard and like say things, what you're saying out loud back to you? Do they just need someone to vent to? Do they need to think out loud with someone? Do they need help solving an issue? Ask these questions. It helps you. It really, really helps you be a good listener. Next tip. Non-judgmental questions. Non-judgment is like the tip, but there's 2 things. So ask them non-judgmental questions. Don't like weigh it down with your own thoughts. So one is like, how did that make you feel? What do you think you'll do next? What would you do to feel at peace with this situation? Things like that. Okay. Avoid like judgment, non-judgment as a whole. Tip, like avoid judgment if you can. Okay. Safe spaces are safe spaces. Unsolicited opinions are not going to be received well, especially if someone is being vulnerable with you. Okay. Next tip is nonverbal cues. Look for those. Is there something that their tone or their body language is saying that isn't being said out loud? And maybe just like stating that as an observation and seeing how they respond to it. That's also part of listening. It's observation. And lastly, patience. Took me a long time to get this one down, but it's okay. If you're neurodivergent or you have ADHD, like one, it's kind of hard to like be patient and listen when you can kind of guess what they're going to say or how they feel. Just don't step on their words and have like your pebble or your pen or your foot shake to give that physical energy like to something. Maybe do it under the table or under your sweater if it distracts them, but like be patient, let them express themselves fully. Don't step on their words. Those are suggestions that I think can help you be a good listener. Next question. What led to your beliefs? Books, experiences, personal history, ? Who? A lot of the reading. Another one is Conscious Parent by Dr. Shefali Tsabary. And years of Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. And then veganism and its effect on your connection with like the divine, Artist's Way, like I mentioned, doing that like 3 times. Something else that helped shape me are the consequences of not listening to your intuition the first time, second time, or the third time, or your inner knowing. Growing up lonely and being labeled weird, being the black sheep of the family. Living in Spain at 20 was definitely helped me, helped my independence. But a lot of my beliefs are attributed to experiences in the world, a lot of which I share in different episodes. Next question. How do you enjoy your own company. Ooh, this is simple and complex at the same time. I am constantly making sure that I feel really whole. Like, I love my own company. I am never lonely when I'm alone. I listen, okay, I think I'm hilarious. I think I'm hilarious. I talk to myself a lot. I make myself laugh all the time. And I kind of just love putting around my own home because it's my sanctuary. Um, I'm someone who likes myself now. It took a while to get here, but I'm kind to myself. I listen to my needs. I listen to my emotions. I don't seek external validation anymore. I nourish myself. I listen to myself. And I'm really picky about who I let into like my home. Like I'm really picky about who I let into my sanctuary. But I have some tips on how you can enjoy your own company. Um, One is listening to the little sparks of interest that come into your mind. So that's why I'm learning cello. And my teacher says I'm like a second grader with honors. That's why I'm bad at roller skating at 33 years old. I'm learning for the first time. That's why I'm signing up for sewing class. That's why I'm taking pole classes, like doing things that interest me and have interested me for years. They're not just like, what are they called? Impulse purchases. They have been brewing in my mind and I'm just giving myself permission to actually do them. Now, the tip is to be mindful. Like I'm more mindful. I journal and I reflect on my actions and others' actions that didn't feel good and why they didn't feel good. And I kind of learn new boundaries that way for myself. Also, lastly, I embrace solitude now. Like I have created morning rituals and morning sounds with tea. Like I like sitting in nature and throwing around ideas about writing. Like I like walking and listening to my favorite music. I love dancing naked in my home, obviously. I like dressing up and taking myself out on a hot date because I think I'm hot no matter how I'm feeling. Like embrace the solitude and figure out what you like about yourself. Next question is how to combat FOMO and make time for yourself. Do's, don'ts, and when to say no. Well, there's no like, let's find time for yourself. There's make time for yourself. That's the only way to do it. Like, are you making excuses for your limiting beliefs? Are you making excuses not to see yourself as a precious thing that needs attention and care? Maybe ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself why, if you are. Now, I will say there were a few years of a depressive episode that not going places meant a whole different thing. So, what I'm sharing about going places or not going places in a second is coming from like a place of like being in good mental health. Okay, like in peace and taking care of yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So, it goes back to enjoying your own company. If you're not invited, if you're not invited there, don't go. If you're not invited or you're like invited last minute, that kind of means you were not part of the original plan. Don't go. Don't go. That doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel right, don't go. Like when I'm telling you this is from a good mental place and not of like a depression type of not wanting to go anywhere, don't do it. And maybe see that time where you weren't supposed to be like at this specific place as time you're allowed to give to yourself, to make time for yourself, to treat yourself, I don't know, to a new recipe, to a new place that you want to go, maybe go bowling alone. Who fucking knows? Just maybe that time was meant for you to be alone with yourself, to enjoy your company. Need some more tea as I'm talking. Mm, mm, mm. Next question is how do you go forward when there's lack of time and specific goals to reach? This one is a lot to unpack. But I'm going to go simple. And then if someone comments that they want me to go deeper, I will. So I'm going to use like me learning the cello as an example for these like tips. So I want to be able to basically play a beautiful song really well in about 3 years for an event for a friend. Here are some tips to like move through getting specific goals in a short period of time, or if you have lack of time. All right. So first, prioritize what really matters to you. Like, what are the most impactful goals? For me, that looks like doing my best with what I got. I want to play a song, like a single song for a friend really, really well. Okay. Next is set micro goals. Break large goals into small actionable steps. So for me, that looks like practicing weekly and getting a teacher, like lessons. Next, allow flexibility. Progress is still progress. So be realistic in short periods of time. For me personally, like some days I suck ass and I'm like, dear God, what have I done? Why am I learning this? Then I remember that I'm learning an entirely new skill and it's okay to be a second grader at something. Just that's the part of the realism that hits me. Next is use your time efficiently, like small pockets of the day to work on key tasks, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Don't try to weigh yourself down like I'm going to work for something 2 hours a day on top of my job, on top of being a human trying to run errands throughout the day. Like for me, I practice no more than 20 minutes and I try to make it about 4 days a week. And that's good for me. Next is remembering momentum over perfection. Finished over flawless. Say it again with me. Finished over flawless. Feels so good, doesn't it? Let go of perfection. Perfection sometimes, to me anyway, feels like it's just an excuse not to reach your goals. Um, so I smile like really hard when I get like a new hand movement down that has been really hard for me when I'm practicing the cello. And that's like good. That's good for me. Next is reflect and adjust. So you want to regularly reflect on your goals and your progress. Adjust your priorities based on what's reachable within your actual available time. My reflecting kind of looks like when I giggle in the mirror because I got a new song down that mostly sounds like the song, like Over the Rainbow, and it actually sounds like Over the Rainbow, even though there's some screeches when I play. That's like a little win, and reflecting for me feels good. Lastly, celebrate small wins, like that little giggle in the mirror, like acknowledge yourself. Small accomplishments matter. They really fucking matter. Seriously. And celebrating all of that stuff keeps you motivated. It's a lot of fun to do, I think. Um, I like to remind myself that no one is making me do this. Like, no one's making me learn the cello. I'm doing it. I want to practice, and learning is fun. Next question is, were you always funny, or do you feel like trauma played a part in your turning to comedy? I'm going to keep all this simple and short. I was always hilarious. I think I'm hilarious, but trauma definitely added some spice to my humor. But I do think like comedy that I have been attracted to and grew up with, like things with Jim Carrey and Will Ferrell and other like female physical comedy, just played a huge role. Like both my sister and I are very like boisterous and animated. It's just kind of who I am. I also used to make like shows in my room in elementary school. Like I used to take our VHS, like family recorder, and put it on a bunch of books and like play different roles and act like I was like a show host interviewing my stuffed animals like that. So I've always been animated, and I think I am hilarious. So, and some people don't. That's perfectly fucking fine. Next question is a favorite book that changed your perspectives. Ooh. Okay, this is a hard tie between Pussy, A Reclamation by Regina Thomas Schauer, and The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's close because one, the like Pussy, A Reclamation kind of taught me about my womanness and my femininity and pleasure, and not necessarily like pleasure being sexual. You know what I mean? But Artist's Way, I've done about 3 times in my life, and each time it gifts me something new and something amazing and some like fuel for life. It's basically like a 12-week program. You do morning pages and artist dates, and those are basically like solo outings that you go be joyful, you explore something new, you are playful, so it's really nice. And the whole experience is about creative recovery and connecting spirituality with creativity. And it's also about unblocking limiting beliefs and rediscovering play and curiosity. So I think Artist's Way is really important. It's a book, but it's a course, like it's a practice that you go through. Like it's a 12-week program, right? It really nurtured my self-expression, and it was really important for me, especially when I got out of that 5-year mentally and emotionally abusive relationship. It's really important, especially for women, I believe, who feel they don't have a voice or if they've been missing theirs. And it helps you reconnect with your authentic self and like your creator energy. And if you want to hear more about my relationship, go to the Bluebeard episode. Ooh, this one's a little heavy. How to cope with the death of a friend in which there was unexpressed romantic love. Let me power up on my non-caffeinated tea real quick. Okay, so before I go into what helped me, I do want to say that I'm not a licensed therapist. I would say first, maybe if you're open to it, go to a trusted like local counselor or a therapist specializing in grief. But I'll share what helped me cope with the death of a friend in the past, and when you didn't get to say what mattered to you, and what I think could help. Okay. I think this is incredibly layered and complex, and it's going to be 6 points just so you know what to expect. So, okay. First, acknowledge and validate your feelings. I think that's really important. Grieve the what could have been. I think it's important to feel everything, feel the regret, feel the longing, feel the guilt. Let it come, just don't let it stay. And different ways you can cope with that are journaling about your emotions, journaling about your romantic feelings, about your memories, your regrets. I personally think that journaling can help you see clarity, bring clarity to your experience. I also think moving energy or releasing energy is really good for you. Like healthy short runs to release energy, a rage room to scream and break shit, as long as it isn't a repetitive crutch. I only did it 2 times, but it really helped me release rage in a secure, safe space. Second point is create some space to express what was unspoken. Unfinished feelings are really hard to deal with in general. And when someone passes, I can't even imagine. So one thought and suggestion, coping mechanism I would suggest is writing a letter to them. Express everything that you wish you had and what they meant to you. Create a personal ritual to honor their memory. Maybe lighting a candle and making tea for them. Putting them on your ofrenda and making their favorite dishes. Planning something in their honor. Dedicating acts of kindness to them. Once I got my friend her favorite sandwich and her favorite beer and a really good juice, and I had a picnic with her favorite music also at her gravesite, and I just cheersed her and talked to her and updated her on all the chisme. And it was a really special, sacred experience. So that might help somebody too. Third thing is lean into supportive relationships. Friends and loved ones who can hold space for your grief without judgment, especially without judgment. It's just really helpful to have that. You can share memories, you can share feelings, or maybe if you're open, again, go to therapy or go to grief counseling specifically for grief. Fourth point is find a healthy outlet for your regret. Channel that shit. Put it into a creative project. Put it into making art. Put it into writing. Play music that celebrates their life or your connection to them. And the next one is all encompassing. The fifth point is be kind to yourself. Please, please, please be kind to yourself. Practice self-compassion because your feelings are valid. Sixth and final point, accept the complexity of love and loss. Love does not need to be spoken to be real. And just for a bonus, I actually added some affirmations for navigating loss. So I'm going to say a few where I'm going to say blank, and that's where you can insert the person's name. Okay, so I'll say a few of them. It's okay to grieve blank and the possibilities. The love I feel, spoken or unspoken, was meaningful and real. I honor blank by holding their memory with love and gratitude. My feelings of love and grief are a testament to the depth of our connection. I honor memories we shared, and I allow myself to heal at my own pace. Though they are no longer here, the impact they had on my life remains forever. I think affirmations are just really helpful when you're going through shit. Just want to hold a moment for that question, and I really hope that answer helped. Again, I'm not a licensed therapist, but all that stuff helped me.